All right, David Bahnsen, you're an education guy. You care about it deeply, and I know you've got serious problems with what's going on in America right now. We've tried this get rid of the department thing before. It hasn't worked. You think it's going to work this time?
We haven't tried hard enough.
Okay.
This department is the one that if I could wave a wand and get rid of, I would. It's inexcusably bad. It never should have been created to begin with. This is not in the proper jurisdiction of the federal government, constitutionally, morally, governmentally, or any other category. But here's the problem. You can't do it by executive order. Because if you get rid of it by order, it comes back by order. So you have to build the consensus to make the case you don't need it and get Congress to act. Congress is going to have to ultimately do this. But I love the idea of a Secretary of Education who's there to get rid of her own job. I think it's wonderful.
Inflation-adjusted spending from the DOE last year, 308, that is the yellow line all the way on the right, $billion in red. Reading scores, the lowest ever on that chart going back to the 90s. You tell me that education in America for my child is working. I point to that chart and I say absolutely not. Here's the other rub that gets me, and I'm in this fight. On average, Catholic school students are 2 grade levels above the public school counterparts. If you can't afford a private education, what am I supposed to do? I'm stuck in the death trap that is New York City, and my child will never be able to escape that. I'm doomed from the beginning.
But that's why school choice, with more students, is more customers, is more competitors, it pushes prices down. I started a private high school in Newport Beach, California. It's expensive. Tons of kids get financial aid, but charter schools, school choice, tax credits, there's all kinds of options. But the unions fight it because the unions aren't interested in parental choice. They're interested in indoctrination, which is what Jackie said. But the other piece that I think has to be said about these scores, math, reading have not gotten better. You know what has gotten better? Is their self-esteem. These students feel better about doing math worse and reading worse. They're focused on this pop psychology stuff, and they're not educating the children. And that money is federal only. It doesn't include the total cost.
That's our money. Taylor shouldn't have to feel like she can't send her kid to a public school and get a decent education. That is your money.
David makes the key economic point, which is if you foster school choice and give parents choice, it's going to create more educational entrepreneurship. And that competition is going to actually bring prices down. And what the unions know is their power goes away when that competition happens. So they fight tooth and nail against choice because whether or not you have a DOE, it's choice where the battle is won or lost.
But the states are already paying teacher salaries. It's already on the state dole. So exactly what is the federal Department of Education
it's for diversity,
really doing?
It's for cultural indoctrination programs.
Then there's the argument to get rid of it.
You don't need it.
Democrats will mandate an all-night session that will impede the confirmation of budget director nominee Russ Vought.
You've got sort of a retaliation situation happening here with the confirmations. David, they're mad about one thing that's happening with DOGE or policies they don't like with Marco Rubio and U.S. aid. And so they're trying to take it out on the confirmations and the hearings. But that really hurts the American people. That doesn't allow the president and his team to get to work. It's the third time I'm bringing it up on this show, but I think it's important. You saw when we had that tragedy in the air, you needed your Secretary of Transportation in place. You needed Secretary of Defense in place so that they could get on these issues right away. The longer this takes, the more it hurts America.
Well, and that's a bipartisan comment that generally speaking, blocking nominations as a way of trying to score political points just hurts the country. I totally agree with you. But I would argue, even if they want to win an argument, even if they want to persuade people, the screaming, the calling Elon Musk a Nazi, the extremist stuff, I personally have had significant problems with certain things that, let's say, former President Obama or former President Biden wanted to do. But the idea of going straight to this code red, everyone's whatever, it doesn't work. And so they lose credibility. If there's a credible reason to be concerned about what they're doing with USAID or with DOGE, they lose credibility with this kind of hysteria.
All right, let's get a quick market check. Taylor, you are looking at Mattel.
Should we do another pop quiz? Do you guys favor Barbies or Hot Wheels?
Barbies.
David. Hot Wheels.
None of the above.
What?
You don't like Hot Wheels?
Okay.
Too old.
Oh, come on.
We'll discuss this
Well,
later.
here's the Barbies
I can't believe
for everyone.
David's not a Hot Wheel guy. I thought for sure we were going to
What about action figures?
When I was a kid, I was. And then, my kids are now older. But when they were younger, I did all this stuff. I'm not as
playing the
uncool as
maturity
you might
card.
think.
I'm not into these kid things anymore. Okay.
Fine,
The maturity
fine.
card.
All right.
That's what they call it.
Yeah, right.
They say a 10% cap is just unworkable in their words. They say it will actually harm the consumers that the policymakers are trying to help by limiting the types of credit that tens of millions of people depend on. The only people behind it, or not behind it, I guess, would be the folks who give you the credit cards, guys.
Jeff Locke, thank you so much. David Bahnsen, you're rolling your eyes. Reaction.
It is not true that the only people behind it are those giving the credit cards. The people who get credit cards are behind it because if they go to 10%, they have to stop giving credit cards to some of the riskier borrowers. There's always a hidden cost. If President Obama did this, people would be furious. I think, about 98% of what President Trump's done so far. Price fixing doesn't work. I know people like it. Let's set a law that eggs have to be 50 cents.
I agree.
Price fixing, wage controls, they don't work. They have hidden cost. This is a disaster of an idea.
Actually, what we should be trying to do is teach people not to rack up debt and not pay the egregious interest rate. The credit card actually has the right to charge whatever it wants to, but we're not. By bringing that rate down, you're saying it's okay. Charge what you
and
can
credit cards
afford.
have a right to compete with one another if they wanted to do so.
Yeah.
You know what, David? At the end of the day, this is why the discussion when these fires hit and devastated the Eaton fire, the Palisades fire, devastated these there's these thousands of people without their homes. This is why the discussion became, do you give federal aid to California with strings attached?
I think the challenge, though, in fairness, is the strings should be connected to the things that cause the problems. Are you going to go fund your fire? Are you going to go get the water? Are you going to stop crazy environmental policies? Stop crazy regulatory policies on insurance? The migration deportation issue is an important matter of national security, but it's not directly connected to the fires. So I'd like to avoid the politicization that mingles it all together, but Newsom's the one doing that.
Yes, he's the one who exactly.
He's
That's
the one
irony.
poisoning the well, in my opinion.
Well, usually I'm the only person on the set who hates California the most, and David Bahnsen, I think, outdoes me on this one. You might hate California a little bit
You
more
guys
than
really
I
hate
do.
it? You hate it, huh?
We love it. It's in our hearts. We came from there, but I managed to find my way out. Unfortunately, I found my way to New York,
came
which
here.
isn't much better. I know.
But it's better.
It is.
And that's the
yeah.
thing. That's the thing people can't believe when I say I went to a freer state. I went to New York.
I know.
I don't have a problem when politicians get it wrong and they just say, I got it wrong. I'm sorry. We're not going to do this again. We're going to fix it. That's really my problem with Gavin Newsom's of this world.
Yeah,
Just
David.
own it.
He went on national
Do better.
television and said he had a solution for how we could rebuild houses quicker. He was going to waive all the environmental regulations, waive all the requirements, the zoning. You know who said that? Gavin Newsom said it. If it works now, it would have worked before. It works in the future.
Where you been?
He's married to the big state. That's his problem.
I'm glad Edward Lawrence is pressing on prices. Like, we need that. But I also agree that these executive orders that free up energy, that is going to take some time.
It will take time.
It does take time to do this.
For sure.
David Bahnsen's shaking his head at Brian.
Do you have
so
egg
now I'm
thoughts?
desperate.
I just want to point out that inflation is not something that is direct. The prices of all these things are not directly controlled by the White House. But what does happen in a free market economy is you produce more goods and services.
Thank you.
That puts downward pressure on prices. That's all we need. Supply side, allow the economy to do what it does best.